Obviously, when you make 16 threes, it hides some things that we have not been doing well lately, particularly a thing called defense. And we got to make sure that we defend better. We fought in the second. First half, we didn't put up a fight. In the second half, we put up a fight defensively. But we got to get better. Our manpower is kind of down. So it's hard for us to be as aggressive defensively as I like to play because that's taxing on your body. But with all that said, it's we offensively continue to play better, but we can't depend on continuing to shoot 55% from the three-point line to save us. It's we're not the team that was 0 for 18 when the season started, but we're not a 60% three-point shooting team. What I will say is that Chris Silva is playing like a hoss. So it's creating so much attention that we understand now how to play around him. So it's creating a lot of opportunities for other guys. But we've gotten better. We just gotta figure out a way to start defending a little better than we are right now.
Going off that, Frank, obviously you guys have hit 33s in your last 2 games. After Evan left and manpower is kind of a little bit down, did that force you to kind of work it into the offensive plan a little more, or is that just how it's kind of evolved with so much focus on Chris?
I can't say it enough. Kids don't just show up in college and you understand what they do well. And what they do well in high school, for the average kid, 80% of those things don't succeed in an SEC caliber game. So they have to learn. They have to grow. They got to understand how to get open. They got to understand the structure that we create as coaches. And then as coaches, when you're coaching somebody for the first time, you have some structure that you play with when the season starts that has to change as you start learning about your players. And, at the end of the day, that's what our job is to continue to play through our identity, but put these kids in a place where they're confident. That way they can play aggressive and fast. And that's what, I think our staff's tried to do. And these kids, they have tremendous resolve. I told you guys this when we were, 5 and 7 or whatever going into Christmas. They're fun to be around. They have not allowed, losing some hard games to impact them in a negative way. It's a fun group. I'm a little frustrated with a couple guys. And it's not for the season. It's because of the last 36 hours or whatever. But they've been good, and they're fun to be around. I get out of bed every day, and I'm excited to plan practice and go out there and clap. Andrew, you haven't been there. I do a lot of clapping.
Coach, you touched on some of what I was about to ask just right there in that answer, but you have said this message, and it's been echoed by every single coach that's come through here for a game, is just how tough this league is. But every time you've lost one in SEC play, you've come back and won the next one. How rare is that for a group, especially in this league gets tougher and tougher and the season gets longer and longer? And what are they drawing on to continue to play their best when facing adversity? Trusting each other.
There's nothing more important than being a good teammate. I don't care how good you are as a player. If you're a bad teammate, nobody wants to play with you. And these kids, they're tight. They're a tight-knit group. They get along. The biggest fallacy that exists is that, good teams, they hang together. Come on, please. Michael Carrera and Sendarius never hung together, but they were both great teammates. And they believed in each other, and they had each other's back. And they just believe in what they're doing. They've bought into what we're selling as coaches, the leadership, which I sat here last year, and I was, I'm pretty much an open book. I think you guys have figured that one out by now. It wasn't good last year. It wasn't bad. It just wasn't good. Chris Silva has been phenomenal in that department. The way he's handled his personality to get the team to play through his desire. We need more guys to help him. Trey Campbell has gotten a lot better, not because he's making threes. I just told him, I said, you know why the ball's going in for you? Because you're actually trying. you're actually not consumed with yourself. You're trying to run our team. So you're so engaged in what you're doing that now the ball goes in for you. They get along with each other. They're fun to be around. They look out for one another, and they care. Too many people care about themselves these days. They care about our team, and that says a lot about those kids.
Frank, what is not working, or in your eyes, on defense, and is it any harder to get that message across because you guys are winning games?
Yeah, I don't think we're fighting as hard as we need to get through screens. I think we're trying to just let's just defend to kind of get through the possession, and that's why we're finding ourselves in these deficits. We got to be more aggressive, more assertive defensively. We got to set the tone defensively. We're not doing a very good job of coming out. Everyone calls them the 50-50 balls. We're not doing a very good job with that. I thought we came up with some of those in the second half today, right when the game started turning in our favor. But then there were others that we could have come up with that we just stood there and watched. And then the one thing that's been our Achilles heel is defensive rebounding. We're a one-man band right now in defensive rebounding. And, Felipe gave us how many did he grab today? I thought he gave 2 or 3 defensive rebounds, which I can't see. I'm so blind. Hey, there you go. And they were all in the second half. He had 0 at halftime. I thought, my eyes told me that he came up with some defensive rebounds right when we were making that push. And, we got to be a better defensive rebounding team. And, part of our problem is we got 2 freshmen starting. And those guys, they're great kids. They're going to be great players for us. Obviously, AJ Lawson has played pretty consistently here at a high level lately. But defensively, you go out and you guard Starks and Mitchell and Flagg. Those guys are hard guards. You can't go out there and guard and just kind of let them catch the ball where they're comfortable, or you're going to be on your heels. And so it's my job. I gotta, because we were defending pretty good a month ago. It's my job. I've got to figure out a way to re-engage us there defensively, and it's hard because remember now I got 8 guys and 2 scholarship and 2 walk-ons. It's can't beat them up in practice. With 6 games to go. So.
Frank mentioned Chris as being a hoss, so obviously attention's in there that opens up the perimeter. But Chris has been a hoss before. You haven't shot like this. Is there anything? Are you getting better looks? Is there anything more in rhythm with some of those guys? And that's caused the increase in 3-point production.
These guys hadn't played with Chris before, and obviously Chris didn't have very good November. But ever since we hit December, he's been starting to play better and better and better. And all these first-year guards around them they're learning to play. They're learning to understand the stuff that we do and where Chris is comfortable with the ball and where he's not. And Chris had a bad decision-making day today. He just wasn't good, especially with, when we were trying to run stuff to post him up, he was posting too early. So by the time the ball got there, the defense already adjusted. When we threw it to him, he just was never engaged with some of the things that we are asking him to do when the ball's in his hands. But his effort, his desire, his enthusiasm, and those kids learning to play around him, and they're playing with confidence. And, we've changed some things, especially when Felipe is in the game. We've made some adjustments schematically to fit our personnel a little bit better. I also think that I'm going to speak for the last 2 games. I've been playing AJ, Hasani, and Trey a lot, and those are our 3 best perimeter shooters. So they're getting opportunities, and we're forfeiting some rebounding, we're forfeiting some rim coverage, but I'm trying to, exchange it for opportunities to shoot threes, and they're making them.
Coach Drew Banks, On Point Basketball, Toronto. As far as AJ goes, pretty good game for him today. Showed a lot of all-around. What have you seen from him in terms of from the beginning to now, and how can he continue to improve and do the things you want him to do?
Yeah, AJ, I can't say this enough. For a young man that has high school credibility the way he had, to accept coaching the way he accepts it, is a credit to his family and the coaches that he's had to this point. You know, he doesn't roll his eyes, he doesn't suck his teeth, he don't pout, you know, and I'm on him. You know, I signed up with all our players, including him, a responsibility to challenge him, to make him grow. Growing is uncomfortable. And if you're comfortable, you're not going to grow. I don't care who you are. You're just going to stay comfortable. And a lot of young kids struggle with that at first. He's been great with it. He's got to get stronger. That's AJ's, you know, the two things when he went through a little rut this year he wasn't doing is he wasn't shooting the ball real good. And he was being very passive. He's kind of re-engaged again. And he's gotten in the gym and shot some balls. We talked about, you know, a small mechanical flaw he has at times to try and get him to be more consistent with that. But, you know, he's an unbelievable kid. Not only is he, you know, forget the talent, he's an unbelievable kid. You know, he's got to get better defensively. You know, that comes with strength and maturity. You know, every matchup he's got lately is like a fourth-year guy that's great off the bounce, and he's fighting his tail off, trying to keep that guy in front. And as he gets older, he'll learn how to use his length a little better when playing smaller, faster guards. But he's awesome. He's awesome. He's a lot of credit to everyone in Toronto that touched him growing up, because he's a quality young man.
Brian Krill off topic, but Hasani got a haircut there. I was wondering, was that his decision? Did he just kind of show up with it? Just what's the story there?
I think he was a little airheaded today. He wasn't very mentally engaged with some of the things he did at the end of the game today. In the last 2.5 minutes, I think when they cut his hair, it just allowed so much oxygen to actually go in his brain, he didn't know what was going on. You know, I've talked to him about it. I don't beat guys up. My rule is be neat. Be neat. That's it. I'm not going to tell people how they should cut their hair. It's not my place in life. I fight my own children on that. It's not an easy fight. You know, his family, they're all military. They're all clean cut. You know, I've had conversations with him about that. Like, you know, that's what he looked like when I recruited him. That stuff he had on his hair yesterday, you know, I know this. His family's a lot happier. I know that because I've had conversations there too. But it's not my place. It's not my place. I've never felt it's my place to tell kids how they should wear their hair. All I say is be neat. You know, be neat. When we're in practice and all that, you don't shave and all. I get it. You know, Senderis and I used to have great. Here, I'm going to tell you a great story about that. You know, Senderis and I had long conversations about that, about being neat. Saying you got to clean up. You go, but my barber's in Lancaster and I can't get there. I said, dude, my barber's in Miami. I never go to him anymore. It's you know, you got to be neat. You know, and so now the Clippers draft him, and you know he was okay. I said, Sen, you need to get a haircut. He says, yeah, I know. I'm gonna get one before I go. Well, he leaves. He gets to Los Angeles. He didn't get the haircut. They welcome him. Hey, blah, blah, blah. Hey, Doc Rivers, hey, Sin, we're so happy to have you, man. Great expectations for you. Do me a favor. Go get a haircut right away. He called me. He says, man, you weren't kidding. I said, I told you, man. I'm trying to tell you. That corporate America, man, it's, you know, there's different worlds. Our country's made up of different pockets. You know, when you're an entertainer, you look like whatever you want to look like. No one cares. Actually, probably helps you sell more records, even if you can't sing, if you look cool. When you're in corporate America, you got to fit that. You know, that's kind of the way it works. And we can't make corporate America be that industry, and we can't force corporate America into the other industry. Different avenues for success. And So I talk to our players about it a lot, but my rules be neat, and that thing had gotten really, really ugly. Really ugly. Thank God.
Frankie had only 5 guys score today, but you had 84 points. One of those guys who didn't score is Keyshawn. You talk about freshmen and the energy it takes to go through an entire season. How do you guard against that with him? These are back-to-back games. The physical toll he took with Schofield, now today didn't play as well. How do you guard against him getting down on himself? Because obviously you're going to need him for this stretch run.
I'll be honest with you, I'm not really care how he handles it because I'm not real happy with him today. We all have bad days, okay? We all have bad days. He had a bad day at Tennessee. Having 2 bad days in a row is unacceptable. And, I'm not going to give you the details of my conversations with him in the locker room, but I'm disappointed in him because he's been better than that all year. The reason that we're in a place where this season still has so much in front of us to gain is because of his efforts. So he needs to. I'm not very good with like dancing around stuff. He needs to grow up. That's what he needs to do. Okay, he wasn't playing like that when I had 10 bodies that I could put in a game. Now he's taking playing time for granted, and he's kind of changed gears on me, and he needs to grow up, and his teammates need to help him. That's a Hasani, Trey, Chris. Their clock's winding down. You know what I mean? They wake up, they know they got 6 games to go. Their clock's winding down. I just told them you need to go grab the guys that aren't helping you, or at least today, and make sure that that's not acceptable. But I'm not. I don't want to dwell on that one too much because that's like a stomach ache on a day that I feel pretty good.